about business stuff. One is a realtor, the other's really buff. Sometimes they have guests. It's the Conscious Business Podcast. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the funniest things was when you hear all these stories about the stubbornness between the two of you guys, and hear all these stories, and but compassion overlying the stubbornness, and then you guys get up to thank everyone in your speeches, and someone yells in the back row, "We can't hear you from the microphone, it needs to be close to your face." Sarah puts down the mic and says, "I'm tired of this I can't hear you bullshit. I'm gonna yell and you're gonna listen." And everyone's just like, "There it is, there it is." I pooped my pants a little bit.
Yeah, the other funny part was getting threatened by one of the father-in-law's friends.
What?
Yeah, so at my wife's brother's wedding, he pulled me aside, took some shots, and I've had cordial conversations with him. I've met him 7, 8, 9 times or whatever, different dinners and things. And he at the brother's wedding was like, "You gotta fear Harvey." And I was talking to Curtis about this before you guys got here, and I was like, due to my past things and fighting and just being a hooligan, I'm like, I don't fear any man. Never have, never will. We all bleed red. I'll not fear Harvey. I'll respect him and whatever, but I don't fear him.
Why do you need to fear him?
I don't know.
Father of the bride. Come on.
I don't know. So this is at Cole's wedding, and then at our wedding, he came up to me and was like, "If you make a mistake, I'm coming for you." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." I'm like, and I actually told him, I'm glad I wasn't drinking, because I probably would just honestly hit him, knowing the way I get when I drink. So it's probably a good thing I only had a couple shots and it was pretty sober. But yeah, I was like, and then after I was like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?"
And at your own wedding.
Yeah, just
it's supposed to be good times, but
yeah.
Other than that, how was the wedding?
It was great.
Yeah.
The wedding was spectacular. Honestly, I kind of gave Katrina a little bit of shit, because I was like, if things are gonna go wrong, I want to yell at my wedding planner that we paid for, not my good friend or whatever. So, but I'm we were very thankful that you made everything go so well too. It was kind of a weird talking to, but thank you for doing it, because ultimately nothing went wrong.
Okay, so you guys had the ceremony in front of that hollowed out tree. I didn't get any backstory. What's the background?
Zero. We showed up there and we liked it, and that was where we're doing it.
I think it would be a good photo setting.
Yeah.
You saw that cool hollow tree with the water in the background. You said, "That's a cool ass tree. I want to get married in front of it."
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So we went through the whole venue crap, and a lot of venues are really expensive, and the one we really liked in Golden was $25,000 to start for 100 guests. But then in the contract, they were going to deem anyone that was intoxicated. They would hire 4 staff members in the money that you're paying initially, and if they deem any people intoxicated, it's an extra $500 per person. So at $100, 100 people, you're looking at potentially another $50,000 bill.
If everyone shows up.
Everyone got drunk, right? And I knew obviously there's certain people, you guys, and even me, I don't really drink or whatever. So it's okay, maybe 80 people, but then it's a $40,000 bill. And I know Sarah's family likes to drink a lot. So I was like, this is stupid. So yeah, so we just I know Sarah's done a lot more in Golden Years than I ever have, walk wise. I've done swimming the river and the lake, obviously, but she's like, "Hey, let's go look at this place." And we went, and I initially thought she maybe meant the boat launch. I didn't know there was camping spots there. And then we kind of went for a walk down there. I'm like, I think if we could get this camping spot, it's a perfect little spot. And the only thing we weren't sure is if cars might have to drive through, well then I guess so be it. Everyone grabs a chair and stands up.
Well, that's also a benefit of doing a wedding on a Wednesday. Yep. It's not really Wednesday when it's not hot out in June while school is still in, isn't really a hot prime time for camping.
Well, and then the other thing too is you're supposed to have your passes now, right? So they brought that in June 1st. You have to have they only let out 150 passes a day or something like that. So because we're on they only do the passes Friday to Sunday. So because we're on Wednesday, don't have the pass.
Oh, well, plus you're not even at the boat launch, you're not even past the gate.
Yeah, you're past the gate.
Are you?
So when you come in where our wedding was, there was kind of a quick little pull out. We actually went down there and took pictures. They divert you in and you have to show your pass.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah. So the tree wasn't really, there was no story behind the tree.
Cool.
And so you chose Alouette just based on the fact that it's pretty and you had found a spot to go? There wasn't a particular reason why you go to Alouette Lake? Yeah, weddings, I don't know what you ended up paying in total, because you did it at a campground for, next.
We still had $30K.
Still $30K for everything. And even though you had a property location, that's insane. What did you spend on your wedding?
6 grand without the rings, and like we
Oh.
had our rings made.
You want to talk about rings too?
Yeah.
Oh God.
So like that part of it, we had some custom made rings. Like I got my band's very simple, but I always felt like they're little small toothpicky type of size rings that you can buy off the shelf. So I wanted it wider to fit my ganglion fingers. And then hers, everyone I saw, like I knew the settings. She had a diamond she wanted to use, and we saw a lot of settings, and then we took it to this place that custom made it, and I said, like, I want these details. Like working at Costco, I always got to show people diamonds. I talked about all the total internal reflection and the cuts that created the sparkle and why and color, and I knew a lot of that. So she had a good diamond to it. I was like, well, let's like create the setting. Let's cradle that like diamond that she has. So.
We went to Spence originally in Langley, and the ring that she wanted was 29 grand or something like that, and I went and got it made at this place called Jewelry Clinic in Surrey. I am going to name drop because they're awesome, and they made it for me. The only thing is we didn't go with a real diamond, with a factory diamond. It's like
A lab engineer.
lab engineer.
Still a real diamond.
It is a real diamond. It's just not, slaves haven't died for it. But just over 2 carats, like 0.03 or 04 or 2 carats or whatever. And I had the whole exact ring made that was at Spence's for like a third of the price.
Yeah.
And then my ring he made there too, and it was like $2,500 or whatever. So,
No.
but
You know what my wedding cost?
I don't want to know.
I think we did everything, wardrobes and everything for less than $1,000.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. That's
I wasn't invited either, so thanks, dickhead.
the part about it was like you had a lot of expectations with people to meet. There's drama, like if somebody's threatening
Yeah.
you because you're not nice. But ultimately, like, who's the day for? And it's for the groom and the bride.
A lot of colors of people were shown throughout this on both sides of like her family, my family, friends on both sides. It was interesting. It was definitely super interesting, and like my stag, like you guys know, it was a fucking nightmare and a half to. Like, I was about to cancel it, and then the brother got involved, and I'm glad it didn't. Like it was really, I'm really glad what we had, and it worked out really well for my stag. But similar issues with her stagette, I guess, and like it was really interesting to see where like different people's MOs lied with different things. Like on my side, there was a guy that things weren't going to work out with the initial game plan we had to go, to Thailand to party for basically 2 weeks and travel a little bit, which I know was going to be a lot of financial bearing on everyone, but that's why we were trying to plan this so far away. And then it never came to fruition. So we came to potentially go down to Mexico. And then again, still gonna be a little bit of a financial burden, but then he was like, oh, if it comes closer, I'll make it. And then we get it like 3 hours out of town and he still like doesn't show face, right? So it's just like, why are you here?
And who is that?
I'm not gonna drop names.
No
on
names.
this.
Or a relationship?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he sees this, he's gonna clearly know who I'm talking about, but we just won't share this clip. So
No, but
So, being you got married on a Wednesday, you have deals going on. You're a mortgage broker. Clients. If clients have a subject removal or need approvals or anything like, and banks don't care that you're getting married on a Wednesday. Like how?
okay, so I did have a fire on a deal, and it actually somehow dealt with itself.
It rained and you didn't have to fire hose it.
Yeah, the underwriter I worked with is, if I get busy enough, like I'm planning to, I will be hiring her. Because she dealt with the whole deal instead of calling me. Actually, she did try calling me, but I just didn't answer.
But she knew it was your wedding?
Yeah, I told everyone, like I told all work, I told realtors, like I was like, hey, if there's introductions, like I'm basically done Tuesday to Thursday. Like I'll introduce myself on Friday. So if you can introduce me to them on Thursday evening versus Tuesday, like I would prefer that kind of thing. Everyone was super like upfront and good with it, right? And then I put some posts on like Instagram, and it's all right. Been so far, I had 2 subject removals. One we had to push until Thursday, and that worked out.
So
most of my closings were this week anyway, so like it did work out.
Nice.
on my way out,
He sent me a
went to-
deal.
Yeah, I sent him a deal in the morning. I was like, yeah, it's like dealt with. Like subject removal can be a week from that day. Anyway, But at the end, he's like, yeah, so sent me all the docs. And I was like, what are you doing working on your wedding day? Like, just enjoy it. And he's spinning and like, yeah, so sent me the docs. Cool. Like, I'd be murdered on my wedding day if I did that.
I didn't, like, so in the morning, I think I stopped, and there wasn't a bunch of work, but there was a couple texts, couple things like that, a couple emails. I was done by about 10 on the wedding day, but I definitely was working Tuesday. I was kind of working Thursday, even though like I wasn't in front of my desk. So it's been a little bit hard too, because my one associate's no longer with me. So for various reasons.
You fired him.
No, he got a new job, but that's okay. Things weren't working as they needed to. So now I got one that does a per file, and it doesn't get paid if the deal isn't closed. So it's kind of.
Was there any times where your business dealings during wedding festivities and bride saw and got angry?
No, definitely on some setup stuff. Like that's the kind of the double-edged sword of working from home, right? There's expectations that your partner can have that you can't get to. So like, for instance, Katrina's my cleaning lady. She does the cleaning stuff and whatever. And so we bring her in every couple of weeks for, 4 or 6 hours or whatever to clean. And that was literally because that's probably the Sarah and I's biggest beef with each other, is like the dishes aren't done. And like I get Kate will do dishes and stuff. And it's not that I'm not doing dishes or I'm not sweeping the dog hair, but like when our dog's just shedding, like right now, it's fucking terrible, right? And you could probably sweep 4 times a day and it still wouldn't keep up. And so like that definitely falls to the wayside if I'm working, even though I'm at home, right? Like sure, I might go up and eat, but then I eat and go back downstairs to like work again. So like I'm not sweeping.
Do you work better when you're working at home, or do you like having a destination to go to work better?
Okay, so this is a bit of a catch-22 because I've really only ever worked from home besides my last previous business, whatever. I did like having the office. It was easier to like turn off, but then I would still work from home too, right? Like I would still do stuff after. So
yeah, just because you're not finishing at work and you do things at home doesn't change the fact that at least you still have a structured place where you go there to work. Because I find like being at home, there's so many things to distract you, and it's so much easier to procrastinate.
It's a couple years ago now, but when the newest FIFA game, when they kind of changed the way the graphics were and stuff, if I could find a reason to go play it, I was definitely playing it. Or like I'd eat my lunch really fast, like, oh, I got 45 minutes till my next call, like, and I'd play. And then like maybe that next call would cancel for some reason. Well, then I'd play till 3 o'clock, right? Like I've definitely had those moments where that's happened. The gym is what definitely, like if I gym in the morning, I know I'll be on track. If I don't gym in the morning, my mind will wander and I'll want to do different things. Or it'll be like we're going camping for Canada Long Weekend. I brought the trailer out today. So like I need to make sure all the batteries are working, and I got to make sure the water tank's fresh and not moldy. Like there's things I need to do to it now. Like those will be next week's probably battles if I'm not busy like for a full day. I prefer not commuting. I prefer not driving places. Even like, Walnut Grove from my house isn't far. It's 15 minutes. But like sometimes the highway was screwed up. So then the back routes are even busier. And then like, not that it's angry, but like I hate commuting. Like
15 minutes is a lot of time because it doubles up. It's 30 minutes of driving around.
Yeah. And like the back roads don't have service. So it's not like I can just make phone calls, right? Like, or if I do, they're cutting in and out or whatever. And it just gets frustrating conversations. So I do like working at home, but you have to be very disciplined in when you're working.
Let's get back onto the wedding topic. If you were to do something different,
I would do a dry bar.
Dry bar.
There would be no alcohol at our wedding. That's probably the number one.
How do you think that would have been?
Not very well, because we were initially going to do that. So we didn't make it. It's like, everyone when they have their weddings, they're not trying to make money, right? Like it's always just trying to recuperate some costs. And if there is any sort of money made, it just probably goes to photography or goes to like another aspect of to help us pay, right? But we didn't make. My bartender, who's a friend of mine, is probably the only one that really made anything. She got the deal was a flat fee, which was only $200, and then she got to keep the tips, because basically we were just doing like a party. Like we didn't have liquor licenses, nothing like that. It was just a house party. So she probably worked out the best. I don't even think we made $600 out of the bar.
So what would have been the reception of everyone else if you decided to go through with the no alcohol? Because again,
they probably wouldn't have liked it, but we would just said BYOB, bring your own thing, and
Drink out of the back of the.
Drink out of your vehicle, right?
It's a backyard wedding. Why can't it be BYOB? That would have been interesting. Do you think people would have been, I mean, at the same time, it doesn't really matter what they think because you're doing your wedding for you.
Okay, so like Chris said in his speech, I've never cared what people think about me unless you're in my inner circle, right? And it's always been very hard for people to get into my inner circle because I do have like an expectation of like, if I treat you well, like I expect that in the return. So like, I don't know, I don't think you've ever had to call me, either of you had to call me for like me to get up and like come and help you with something, but like I would, because you
helped me with my barbecue. Didn't even question it.
But there you go, right? And I helped you move to a certain, or helped you get rid of stuff, right? Like I have no problem doing that and like putting my shirt in a puddle for you to step over if needed. And the people that, to tie this into like that situation, the people that were taking advantage, I would say, of the bar situation are not people that, even though they're maybe now my family, are not people that I would jump when they asked me to.
Have you ever had an open bar set up where you've gone to a wedding and it's open bar and you just notice a lot of people have a sip or two and then there's tons of unfinished drinks throughout?
Well, I even noticed that cleaning up Thursday morning, there was a bunch of like the solo cups on tables that were like full of maybe the sangria or whatever. And like when people at midnight, when people were leaving, when I was like DJing still, like no one was feeling pain by any means. So, but again, the ones that were feeling more so not the pain were definitely my in-laws' friends.
But I see a big shift around alcohol where like more people are not drinking. And I've even seen dry bars opening up or mocktail bars opening up and, you know, bars closing down and transitioning into wellness studios or like, you know, all these different things that are posing towards the people that are more health conscious and don't want to be drinking alcohol.
Not to associate two demographics, but people who typically drink aren't as wealthy as the people who don't drink because they're using the money to buy the alcohol.
I wouldn't go that far.
Right?
I wouldn't go that far. You go to a mortgage
quality.
I would say
versus quantity.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. For me, honestly, and I hope to God Cade never sees this, and he probably will. I would rather go out on a night and take a bunch of mushrooms or pop a pill of MDMA, and I'll never feel as bad as I do after drinking 8 to 12 drinks. Right?
Yeah.
I wake up and I'm like, okay, let's go on with our day. MDMA, not so much. Definitely mushrooms that way. Right? MDMA obviously affects the serotonin in your brain a lot more. But like for me, I have mushrooms, so it doesn't matter. But like the MDMA pill is $20, let's say, instead of spending $200 to $300 on alcohol. Right. And so that just never made sense to me. And then the other thing too is when I was like 21, my uncle, who's like my dad, he got his cerebellum degeneration, which came from his hardcore drinking and especially like the moonshine stuff he was making, which then caused the you know, it's a brain defect. The cerebellum degeneration is his cerebellum's basically eating itself, and that's where his motor functions are going, and then that's where his dementia came from. So it was like a slowly downhill grade. But once he got diagnosed with that, and then I realized it was from booze, I went from like I could order a beer and I'd take like a big sip down to about the label, and I just like physically didn't want that beer anymore. And I like drinking beer, but like I just physically couldn't drink it. So then it just stopped. I just literally stopped overnight drinking.
I actually attribute part of the reason why I don't drink anymore. I don't put a label on it. I don't not drink. I still enjoy like a red wine every now and then.
Yeah, you've had drinks at my house at different events and things like that.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah. But then I've also not drank at your house. Like,
100%, yeah.
But a big part of it was like once I did mushrooms, I don't know if you just see things a little bit differently or what it is, but I've heard it from a lot of different people as well, where they did mushrooms and then all of a sudden they had a less of a hankering for alcohol.
We all probably agree. I mean, you have done them, right? You haven't.
No.
So I'm sure Clay and I would agree. Every person of power should probably do mushrooms and they'd be a better person. So
I think they're a big part of my development as well.
Yeah. Is that why you ran off to Mexico?
To do mushrooms?
Because you did mushrooms.
I would argue I probably have better mushrooms up here than down there.
Yeah, actually, yeah, this is very true. I've tried mushrooms multiple times in Mexico, and the last 3 times have been duds, and took 5 grams and nothing happened. I was upset.
My stag, I think Chris, Cole, and I did, the first night was probably close to like 20 grams each. And that doesn't include the DMT pen once it came out.
Okay.
I really hope my son doesn't see this.
So the night before my wedding, it was literally just me and my friend Kevin in my garage building patio furniture. And we decided to just munch on a few mushrooms. Usually I do it very calculated, I know I weigh it all out. I grind it up, do it in a tea with lemon, like let it sit and do it all calculated. But this time I was just munching out of the bag while we're building furniture. Well, I don't know if it's a metaphor for a certain stage in my life ending and a new one starting, or like a ego death, as some people may call it. But like, I thought I was dying, and this is the night before my wedding, and Kevin had to call Acacia, who was in Vancouver. Acacia drove out to Abbotsford to calm me down, to make me feel like I wasn't dying. And funny enough, one of the big things that she did was she got me to look at my Whoop stats after I could finally get into my phone, because I was just like, couldn't look at screen.
Does not recognize.
It's all scrambled, I don't know. And then so I looked at it as, okay, my heart rate's normal, like all my signs are normal, like I'm not dying. She put on Arrested Development. I just calmed right down, like went to bed. But so don't do mushrooms the night before your wedding.
Honestly, like I knew nothing was going to change. I didn't care about getting married. Like I've never needed like a legal certificate to be like, oh, I love this person. The trials and tribulations we went through is what got me to that point. So the wedding honestly she hates this. I didn't care about the wedding because it just didn't matter to me, but it blew everything I had expected out of the water. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we were the same way. We both didn't think we would ever get married. Yeah. And then we decided to move to Mexico, and we were like, hey, well, let's get married.
It was a learning phase when we started out these podcasts. Like our first night that we tried to get the podcast going was like 3 hours of us dealing with
we didn't get home till like 2 a.m.
The recording software.
So fun to do.
No, we were way too stoned. I was way too stoned.
Painful, but it was like, it's part of the journey. And now like we hired the right people and the equipment, we're like figuring out what equipment works best, and like pretty smooth.
Well, it's even too, like we have these mics now, as I touch it, and he probably hates that. But the other mics were like right in our face.
They were cool. They look cool, but functionality.
But just learning, like, right? We just learned.
Like your beard would always rustle on it,
or we couldn't drink, or we couldn't hit the table, right?
Yeah,
just different things.
Yeah, having the mic set up directly through the camera is definitely a big convenience, because then you're not having to record on a laptop and keep all that alive and make sure that's all functioning properly while dealing with the camera stuff as well. Like, because I'm doing my own like YouTube stuff in Mexico, and one of the things I just use the camera with the lapel mic connected to it, and that's that. And the other one I do record them separately, because I do them at my desk. Yeah. So it's easy just to have my recording software. My mic is right there, clamped to my desk, and just record them individually, pair them together, and go. But I've had so many technical issues for like the amount of money I've spent on equipment, and it's mind-boggling. Just like even the difference between having like an iPhone to an Android, I think it's screwed me over multiple times with like the file formatting and condensing when you're transferring files and moving them around, and then all of a sudden your audio and your video don't line up. But it's not that they don't line up, because you get them at the beginning to line up. But as you go down, the longer the video, the more it comes out at the end. Like,
I just love that he's nodding. I'm like, I have no idea what you're really talking about, but he's like, I know. Producer
knows what I'm talking about, and like, it's been such a nightmare. And then like using different softwares, using my phone as the camera, then that having to go weird, because in order to get it to OBS, had to go through a third-party company, like a webcam conversion company, and it lost the quality, and then maybe that condensed the file as well and had issues with timing. So I finally got a nice camera, and so it's just simple. Just record on the mic, record on the camera, and that's it. And it's finally all working out without a whole headache in the back end of editing.
We had no idea about this.
Yeah, and it's like a trial and error, right? Like when we first did our podcast, we had a tight budget. And we definitely had a great setup for the budget we had. And then we found out a lot of the stuff wouldn't grow with our growth, right? So, yeah, and there were certain things that I think the audio quality was fine. Like, you don't need a lot to get your podcast going, but you do have to get through these hiccups that you don't know are there and you discover along the way, so.
And to think that I've had such bad issues with sound when like I have the Shure SM7B or whatever it is, like the pinnacle of podcasting mics, and I needed to buy an extra like $300 what's called a cloud lifter, because the output the output from the mic going into my audio interface wasn't enough gain, so it was like super low volume, it was super quiet, and I couldn't get it loud enough, so I had to add another thing in the mix when it's like, this is supposed to be like the best thing out there, and I'm still having complications, I'm still having troubles. I think something with the humidity in Mexico messed up with my input, like for my XLR cables, and I get like a humming, so if the gain's too high on the interface, I get like a zzz sound in the background while I'm talking.
That normally, actually.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Maybe it's just my aura. And so like all these little things, I'm like, I spent hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars on all this equipment. I'm still running into stupid like roadblocks.
Okay, so for me, the biggest one was like we were spending, approximately $1,200 an episode back then, and like we were doing all the social media stuff. And I was like, why the hell are we paying $1,200 for all this crap, and we're still doing the social media?
That's what happens when you hire literally a professional film producer.
Yeah, well, that's what
Not saying you're not professional.
he knows what's up. He has a cooking channel.
Yeah.
He's good.
Indo Chef.
Yeah.
Look it up on YouTube.
Chef.
Link right here.
Over Justin's face.
Yeah, I don't. That was like one of my biggest things. So like, I have zero skin in the game for that stuff, and like I remember like you guys were like asking for things, and I was like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. I'm not good at Canva. I don't want to be good at Canva. I'll pay somebody to do this.
Yeah. And that, like, back to your business, you're in a spot now where you don't have the same resources, but a lot of stuff you can access online, right?
ChatGPT.
And you're pulling information because that's what's out there, right? So
Do you guys listen to the new Joe Rogan today?
Today, no.
He has the guy that had the first Neuralink in.
No way.
Yeah, it's so. I'm like 40 minutes into it. It's so interesting.
Nice.
Listen, it'll be good for the flight home.
chop this out.
I don't care. Shout out Joe Rogan. Don't even get.
Oh yeah,
shit.
he's good.
Yo,
He's
Let's
good.
go.
Do you wanna go into like a super weird one? Did anyone else listen to the Terrence Howard?
Yes.
Yes, and then Billy Carlson.
I made Acacia listen to both those.
So good.
A lot of it's like pseudo physics, but a lot of it's like, yeah, that's kind of true. Like,
Did you see who's the physicist? The black guy who's really good. I actually quite enjoy him.
Tyson.
Tyson. Yeah, he shit on him afterwards on like a little like YouTube video.
There's a lot of people that did. I saw multiple like 1 hour hit pieces like calling him a buffoon and a whack job and a narcissist and so
Patents. Did you look them up? I looked them up. I'm very impressed.
No.
Yeah, they're real. They're legit.
so someone came out and said he only has like 6, but
97.
but at the same time,
If you have
why would he
six,
say?
six is pretty good.
And also others could be like I was just speculating.
Well, you're at 0?
Zero.
Yeah.
There could be ones in not his personal name, but in company names.
Things like that. There's 97 in his personal name though.
Yeah, that's wild. So like, if everything that he's saying is true, now like this one guy was just calling him like speaking nonsense and speaking words that don't even make sense in regards to the topics that he's talking about, and then narcissism attached to it. But at the same time, if you're going so far against the grain of what mainstream science and physics and all these things are, you have to have a level of confidence that in what you're saying is true when you are one person speaking against millions of people. Like, I don't, not to say everything he says is true. I tried to take every individual thing that he said and kind of give it my own discernment, my own bullshit test of like, okay, like how crazy does this sound versus like open my eyes to possibilities. Like what if everything that
I was like me with Gary Becker. I was originally all in with him at first.
Gary Brecka?
Yeah.
I love Gary.
And then there was a couple of things, I can't remember exactly what they were exactly, but they were like, I'm like, that does, like their claims of like, I want to say your body doesn't need sugar, I think it was one of them or something like that. And it was like, okay. And so there's like just different things I had to be like, okay, that doesn't sound right to me. Just like based on like my strongman, like I'm eating Rice Krispies before an event, right? Like obviously I need the glucose in my sugar to turn to glucose quickly in my body for the event, right? There's like little things, and I'm sure like he means like over absorption, crazy amounts of sugar and like a pop or things like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like there's like that clip that gets cut. Then I was like, okay, let's like rethink this. But then there's still a lot of things I do agree with. But it shoots back to you with like he's talking about like I'm actually kind of all in on the Anunnaki theory of like that's kind of where we come from. More so like I was always big with Billy Carlson's stuff, but like after he came on that and Flagrant and like listening to it a little bit more in depth and like doing more research, and then hearing Terrence Howard talk about like we're in this kind of perfect spot and like
The Goldilocks zone.
Goldilocks zone, like we have to like kind of figure out how to get to the next place basically, because like we're only gonna be here for so long. It just like all makes, I think, the more sense at the end of the day.
He does bring up a lot of theoretical parts to his like argument, but there's nothing that he's really showing that we can prove. Repeatability is a key with science. So the science part of the world doesn't agree with him because it's not repeatable.
And so much of it is outside the spectrum of what we know. Just like the spectrum of light, we only see this small bit of this big wide spectrum of light. And so what else is going on around us in these spectrums that we don't even see or recognize or acknowledge as being a real thing? So if he's talking about things that are out here, like when he's referring to different shapes and elements having a resonance of sound, and like,
I liked what he said, sorry to cut you off, man, but I really liked what he said about like we define everything based on straight lines in science and mathematics, and Euclid geometry was all based on straight lines from one point to the next. But we know lines don't exist, they're waves. So like, how do you pull it straight? Like, you don't.
yeah, like even light isn't a perfect straight. It's all wavelengths.
Well, even to, I can't remember, it was Randall Carlson, I think, that was going to talk about the pyramids being built by like vibrations, and there's a university in England that has built a machine that can do this now, but on like a smaller scale. And then for whatever reason, something happened where that got kiboshed and Joe didn't bring him on. But like to see that all the period or elements have some sort of vibration, then it leads into like that's how things of mass that we can't explain or build today could have been built based on reaching that vibration to manipulate that element at that time.
To go on a similar tangent, but like same thing happens like when I watch movies like Avatar, right? Because we only see this, but what if our senses were broadened, we could see a little bit bigger of the spectrum, and all of a sudden all these connections and all these things that are happening in our surroundings, we're just more aware of and tapped into. And like, is that a possibility of like a different reality of what life could be like?
Back to mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. if we didn't have all these things suppressing our nervous system and our senses, like for example, when they're connected to Mother Awa tree, whatever, and it connects through all the different regions and messages are transported, that's mycelium. That's the same thing that happens from plant to plant, coming from fungus and mushrooms. Like it's a real thing. We just can't see it. We can't feel it. We can't touch it. We can't.
Is this gonna get us banned off YouTube because we're talking about against the grain stuff?
No.
Who knows?
No, it's not until we have like 100-kilometer radius around Mill Lake. But
I was going to be generous. I was going to say 5 kilometers around Mill Lake, we might get banned.
Well, if we get like 10 views, that could be like 10 really pissed off people talking about
maybe
mushrooms.
put in the
You
comment.
could say like mega too, like make it great again.
it's interesting. Like
Mega, make Abbotsford great again. Done. Coin.
topic of like getting banned on social media and on YouTube. The amount of things I see with millions of views on YouTube that isn't banned makes you really think like, oh wow,
They control it.
I am nobody in the grand scheme of things, so I could probably say whatever I want, and unless I don't like, as long as I don't break terms and conditions of YouTube policy, then it's fine. But if I'm just talking about things that the people that puppeteer don't say things against what they want, then I'm such a small fish, it doesn't really matter. And I think too many people,
Hey, our 50 views is a big deal.
I know, it's only gonna get bigger.
I know.
And so I think so many people, like I know people that have actually said, I don't want to talk about my business online because I'm afraid of getting shadow banned. It's like, well, you're talking about sprinting and being the fastest runner in the world before, but you're like, well, I don't even want to stand up because I don't want to deal with that. Don't even want to walk.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't talk about touchy subjects on the new image page, but on this, let's go. If my new image page gets affected, so be it. Conscious business, let's do this.
Oh, and I don't think at the end of the day, if you're speaking opinions and your own truths and your perspectives and you're giving context as to why you're saying what you're saying, I don't think people are going to, like, you're not going to lose business for it. No. You might a little bit.
People anyway, to be honest.
But exactly, if you're
I
that.
was going to say something along the lines of like, there's a person for everybody out there to help out,
We
right?
talked about the guy that fat shamed me basically, right? Yeah. I think a while back, but he wouldn't work with me because he thought I was unhealthy.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I get my blood work done every 2 months. Like, I give blood to keep my hemoglobin low. Like, I am on top of my health at 330 pounds. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm unhealthy.
When you're doing something that's not mainstream, it's
also
usually not mainstream because
balls in here.
people have a different perspective of what is the right or wrong, and they've been indoctrinated into the idea that this is right or that's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's truly the right and truly the wrong. And we've talked about, we see green, like your green might be different than the green I see, right? That's just our perspective. And that's what we've grown to believe and exist, that green is different, but it's green. And we both agree that color is green.
Yeah, and if you don't fully represent and articulate your perspective, then how is anyone else supposed to truly know whether they align with your perspective or not? So then you're just a marketeer dancing on a fence trying to appeal to everyone instead of talking to their people.
A lot of people, and this is not a shot at anybody in this conversation, but a lot of people listen to hear their point that they can respond in, right? When is that topic over? They're not listening to comprehend what the other person's saying. They just listen, and they're like, they have an objective to get their voice heard.
Is this like you close your eyes when we're talking so you can like feel
Yeah. No, maybe I'll listen to you. Right? No, but a lot of people don't take that effort to listen, but they rather wait.
Do you mean like in a face-to-face conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times because I'm aware of that, and I want to be a good conversationalist, and so like I'll have something that I want to say, I'm like, I'll just leave it for later because I'm listening, and then I'll completely forget about it, and then that kind of pisses me off. So
there was moments in like the last conversation with you when we're asking stuff. I'm like, I'll bring this up, and then we're like on to the next topic. I'm like, and that topic has gone out of my brain.
Yeah.
I will not be bringing that up now.
No, and like taking notes, I find like in business, you have to take notes. Like, I don't know why nobody carries a notebook.
I still like, okay, for instance, I had a client that her transaction went a little bit sideways near the end due to some things out of my control, but whatever. Anyway, I didn't think it was a relationship that ever get brought back. She called me the other day, and I still remembered like fine details of her deal, even though it was 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, I can't believe you remember that. I didn't have my notebook, I was driving.
Give an example. You showed that message, and very detailed. That person took notes, and we both said, that's awesome. Like, it was going sideways. They have notes to explain what was going on.
Yeah, and so I do agree people should take more notes, but like I actually find I'm able to remember those stupid little details for whatever reason with my deals.
Yeah.
Usually the weird details that you wouldn't think or you need to remember, those seem to be the useless facts that stay in your brain forever.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
It's painful.
The man with all the facts, Jesse.
Yeah, you didn't do. You were kind of let me down a little bit.
But
we only had like 2 out of you.
But honestly, we didn't have a lot of facts. I don't know if we should share this, but Justin's wife has a goal to defecate in every lake in British Columbia. There's 20,000 lakes.
Okay, I wouldn't say it's
20,000.
a goal. I would say that she's defecated in probably like 20 to 30 lakes currently in her lifetime. So I wouldn't say it's a goal to do all lakes, but she's well on her way.
She just wants to make an impact.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially.
As many as possible. I commend that.
Hey.
I respect how well she took it. When her brother was doing his speech and he let the cat out of the bag that she poops in lakes for fun, she laughed and she nodded and said, yeah, and owned it.
Out of all the stories that could have been, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. I loved how her sister just ripped on her.
Okay.
Right before I said like, hey, just so you guys, I had no clue what they had written, but
because she might see this. I don't really want to go into too many details.
But I do like
Impressed by her speech.
Yeah.
Her speech is good. She shit on me real well, and I'll take it.
Yeah.
The brothers is pretty good. My aunt's went exactly how I wanted. As soon as I saw she didn't have notes, I'm like, she's not gonna get any words out. So I knew that's exactly what was gonna happen. And then I literally told Sarah, I leaned over, I'm like 8 words, and she's crying, and I'm pretty sure she got like 8 words out and started crying. I was like, I can't do this. I was a little disappointed with her parents, to be honest.
oh well.
I knew that they were gonna bring up the way I asked for it because it was a shitty way, but like that was fine. But there was like, even Sarah's like, I expected there to be more about you coming to the family or being part of joining the family now, and it was like kind of just like that one story, and that was it. So I think Katrina's as well. I thought well done.
Yeah, Katrina's was good.
And I didn't expect Kate to speak anything. Apparently, you said you called him up.
I called him up.
Yeah. So he's like, I didn't even know. He said I didn't have to do anything because you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to go up.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I did. So
It's good. I'm glad. It was really nice when your wedding finished up and I was about to leave. Cade recognized I was about to leave, and he came and gave me a hug. And I was like, dude,
He's pretty good.
Yeah, your kid's awesome.
Yeah. Well done.
I don't know what I've done. Yeah. You just put the fear of God, you're going to beat him when he does things wrong, and they turn out
I think it's because I give him so much bubble gum.
Yeah, he was pretty stoked on that. I forgot it too the first game, then the second game,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
I talked to Zerov on the day setting up before the wedding. I talked to that kid for so long. I hope he listened to something because I talked long enough.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what will happen with him and work ethic, because the amount of different podcasts I've listened to, like Ed Milet's or different things, or Andy Frisella's, or like the amount of knowledge he should have gained is insane. The amount of knowledge that I've probably given him just with him watching me and me working is probably insane. But then I watch him do labor work, and I'm like, you are not going to cut it in life. So it'll be interesting to see what he takes to, what he decides to take to.
There also is an element of absorbing but not knowing quite yet how to
100%.
apply it,
Yeah.
and the knowledge is there, just not being able to utilize it yet. Because he is only turning 14.
Yeah, he'll be 14 coming up in a couple months here. So 100%. I think like we've had some pretty deep talks too on different things that he's brought up, and I definitely agree with, like, he has that knowledge and he's probably trying to figure out where or how to or where to implement it, kind of thing. He definitely likes having the confidence that I have his back at school. So like, for instance, so I have to leave at 1 o'clock to pick him up, or like I'll be late just based on traffic generally. So I normally get to his school like 30 minutes early, but if I leave past 1 o'clock, I always hit traffic. I'm always late picking him up. So like 1 o'clock's the deadline. So the other day he was texting me, and you can't text in schools now, right? They don't like that. But the new thing at schools is they want to take your phone away. And they will take your phone away. And they like physically will take it away. Well, Sarah at her school, when she was working in the district, has watched kids steal other kids' phones because they just get put in a box. They go grab it. They grab 5 and they walk away, right? So like, when the rule with Cade was, it's only me or mom that takes your phone away. School wants to take your phone away, they call me. But I have a note on file that no one wants to call me at their school because they're all scared of me because of the 3 fights he's been in, that I've been like, well, what actually happened? What's the whole situation? And then Cade comes and explains it.
How dare you?
And I'm like, oh, so he told this kid 3 times to fuck off and he didn't, so he punched him in the face? That's not my kid's problem.
That's boundaries. That's a repeatedly crossing people's boundaries and not respecting wishes.
So on Wednesday or whatever, he's like, I got caught going to the office, and I just put LOL. I'm like, tell him to call me. Of course, I don't get a phone call. And like, I call him after school, and they're like, did anything happen? He's like, nope.
Oh.
So he knows. Like, it's interesting to watch him know when he has, like, I have his back, because like, there's no fear in him with that stuff.
I think having his back for the right issues is the right thing. But just having somebody's back, if they're going to be like, Kate is not doing anything wrong from what I've been,
Not yet, knock on wood.
you know, so making sure you're there and knowing that he has the support is like a big critical thing. Absentee parents are one of the biggest. It hurts to see some of the kids like not have that access to their parents, and knowing you're doing good. No,
Even though his parents were in the picture.
So for context, Clayton was one of the students I used to teach, and yeah, I never had to call home. And you had an older sister that we could, tell.
The reason I have hope for Cade, because even though he's only 13 or 14,
He's saving you.
I've had
Yeah.
I've had friends like my age where like I was losing some hope in their understanding and awareness of things, and like one night again, we sound like a bunch of degenerates. I was having a mushroom night. It's like me, Rob, and 2 other guys, and
I thought my phone was vibrating. Simmer down, okay?
No. And while we were all having these wormhole conversations of just how things function and reality and being aware of things, he was like just off on his own, doing his own thing and like being a little bit weird. And like, we're like
while he's talking to God, kind of thing?
no, well, we're all having our conversations. Yeah. I mean, assuming we were on a similar wave, but and he was just like, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm listening, like, but he wasn't partaking in any of the conversation. He was just being a fly on the wall, doing his own thing. And now, like, looking 2 years later, and he's got more of his shit together, and he's actually utilizing things that he understands a little bit better now from having all these deeper conversations with the aid of the degeneracy of the mushrooms. And now he's doing really well.
So I'll speak to this because I left my group of friends that were all mostly there very early on, like because of business and like you want to be in the room and not be the smartest, and I'm like I am the smartest unfortunately in this room and need to move on, right? But I've watched kind of the same thing with one in particular. With our mushroom nights, and even just he did a lot more partying than I did, and we went kind of two different paths. His other friends weren't a huge fan of me because of the way I was, and so like we kind of had two different paths at one point. But yeah, it's interesting to watch when they catch up after a while, right? Like they're not on the same path as you, but they catch up, and whether or not it has to be because of those mushroom nights or just they took their own path and it took them 2 years longer to kind of
just deal with their own
their own thing together. But it is interesting to like watch it all kind of pull together eventually.
Yeah, and if I can watch someone that's 30 do it when I was losing hope, and then you take a 13-year-old who's got so much growth and room for learning ahead of him, like I think he'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what path he takes. He, growing up, he was always like, I'm going to be an athlete or play soccer for a living. And I don't think he's really good at baseball, but I don't think that baseball's ever really crossed his, like, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. But now with the way he's talked, he's going to potentially do some landscaping work this summer. And it'll be interesting to see what path he decides to take. Because I do think like, I know all parents say it, but I actually do think he has like the world at his fingertips only because of my business adventures so far. Like, I think he knows he doesn't need to do construction, or he doesn't, like, I think he's aware that he could be an influencer potentially, right? Like if he put his mind to it and like set out.
Mm-hmm. And then, and also landscaping is cool because it's not only just like a summer job where you can build skills, that work ethic, maybe some muscle along the way, but also it's something that he could start up on his own and be entrepreneurial with it.
You could say he really likes it. My cousin's an idiot how he ran it, and then potentially have his own business at 16 doing landscaping, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what route he actually does decide to take, and what we've talked about or just what he's seen, how that will play effect. Because I always knew I was going to own my own business at one point, but I thought it was going to be like a construction business. I didn't think it would be like what I'm doing now.
In a brand new industry that you knew nothing about.
And that has nothing against my mom or my uncle or anyone that raised me, but like it wasn't because of them. I don't know where that came from, but it wasn't there. Like they all had city jobs basically and had cushy pensions at the end of it, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, same position.
We're off topic about this whole wedding of yours.
No, we're going back to the wedding. We can go back to the wedding.
No, I like where we're headed. But I thought we were going to talk about his wedding this whole time.
Okay, so on the topic of the wedding, I have never dealt with a group of guys that is so difficult to communicate with. Like when I thought, okay, Mother Goose is going to step in and figure this shit out and get people to come down to Mexico for a bachelor party, and I live down here, so I'm going to organize it. Oh my God, figuring out how to communicate with those meatheads is something else, and nope. I'm not dealing with it.
It was funny on the stag that I showed up. Everybody's on their phone and like looking around.
Okay,
guys, can we
in all fairness, though, you came 2 days after a long 2 days.
That's okay.
You came to party and we were like, we're done, bro.
Oh, you came on the third day?
Yeah, I drove up. So I had my brother's
wedding
that I emceed at as well, and I zipped up the next day.
And I appreciate you zipping up. This is so on the second night, I kind of got some flack from one of our goers of kind of shit talking one of the guys that didn't show up. But I'm like, I used you as an example. I used you coming the next day. I was like, the people that want to be here for me and support me in this decision will make it work.
Yeah.
Right. So like the person that we talked about earlier that we tried to move things around to accommodate as best as possible. And he has a lot of stuff going on that I respect him for what he has going on in his life and his duties he needs to do. But like, if he wanted to be here to support me, he would be here, right? Yeah. Like I have somebody coming from out of country. My cousin almost flew in from Australia, but had a medical thing he couldn't fly for, right? Like people that want to be here will be here, regardless of the situation. Yeah. And so that was like an eye opener. I kind of, like I said, that guy gave me flack. He's like, you're just painting this perception that like he's gonna be a bad person. I'm like, I don't think he's a bad person at all. I just think if he cared about our relationship, he would be here to support.
Yeah, that's making an effort. And I think multi-day stags are tough.
Yeah, they are.
Right? Like, I think I was very open when we were planning it that I was planning on having a kid around that time.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the exact date of like,
You know, thank God she popped that out early.
oh man. But even like we were trying to go for 2 weeks away,
Potentially, yeah.
and that wouldn't have feased. Like I'd be divorced by now. I would have been served papers.
I still think it's coming because you bailed on her graduation.
No, man, it hasn't been a fight yet, so it could be brewing. But no, she's.
Women generally hold things on, and then when it happens, it's gonna be like, "You son of a bitch."
I don't know. She wasn't at my grad, so
She's bred from a different cloth, though.
That is true. That is true.
She's from the
she
motherland.
tolerates me.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. She can do it.
And I finally only met her like 3 weeks ago. 4
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Quick hi.
I've literally texted her more than I've ever met her before because I went to help him with his barbecue.
Yeah.
Back to the wedding. I don't think there's anything that I could say or do or anything to change how anything goes in a wedding, because I think the whole like wedding advice thing I think is so corny and silly and just more so just a formality almost. I think a lot of things to do with weddings are just dumb formalities.
Well, the thing is too.
It's a tradition though. Like it doesn't serve, like we think about a paperwork going to City Hall. That's the government. That's the institution, where before they were the churches or the mosques that like you signed the paperwork with, and that was their tradition, right?
Shitty, greedy third party in your marriage.
That was so one of the things too we kind of told everyone that was doing speeches was like, we don't want advice because we both feel that our relationship is very, very different from everyone else's because we have gone through some pretty hard things that arguably we shouldn't probably be together through. And like we've really worked on our communication. We've really worked on like how we deal with our things. And like Cole said, like we kicked him out of his house and we like screamed at each other for like 5 minutes to then be like, okay, it's worked out, we're done, right? And that doesn't happen very often, and I don't think that is healthy. Don't get me wrong, but like the way we communicate with ourselves is we've never seen a relationship like how we have personally.
Well, it doesn't matter how other people perceive it, as long as you two know that you're communicating effectively. It doesn't matter.
But it's just like even how open we are with everything, and like it's just not. I don't see it in other people's relationships ever, and not to say it's not there, but like I don't want somebody that like we deem as like not a good relationship to like try to be like, you have to do this and this and this, and be like, okay, like right. So
Thanks, Grandma.
yeah, more or less, right? Or like her. I can't remember the age difference, but I do know I think he was like 21 and he took a 15-year-old, like, and they got married relatively quickly. And now this is back in the day. But like, that's obviously illegal.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I do really like those two people in our lives, and they're great people, but
Traditions change.
yeah. Right. So
It was, we brought up we were talking on the way back from the ceremony, and we brought up like, how many times have you been in the wedding party, like with other people? And you said something like 8, right?
people like you.
Yeah, I think somewhere in there, they're in the 8 range.
People don't like me that much.
And your wedding was my number 12.
Wow. People like you too.
And
My
so-
other friends were all 1.
And the advice that like over the years that I've seen, or over the different weddings that I was participant in, it was like everybody's just stressed out. They're running, being pulled one direction to the other, and trying to do everything that's on their itinerary, and they just forget about the person that they're marrying, or they don't like.
The weddings aren't for brides and groom anymore. They're for everyone else.
And so like,
And the other thing that pisses off, that's what we learned. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not what we want. They're like, well, we need to have a sit-down dinner. It's like, but we want to be able to mingle with everyone. Like, if it wasn't for us having those pictures, where we were like, this table of pictures or this family pictures, we wouldn't have seen everyone. We wouldn't have been able to see everyone.
I thought that was great though. And like for us, my wife's like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I honestly don't even want a wedding.
If we would go back, we both agreed we would have just eloped.
And so like your experience of 8 weddings of being participant in, you chose that same route. And I just remember everybody wasn't as ecstatic as they should have been on their wedding. I love the way our wedding turned out. Like we literally got somebody on the beach to sign our paperwork as they were walking by with
Like
their
a
dog.
random?
Just a random lady. And honestly, I should look back at the paperwork and like, but either way, like we spent money on a photographer, great investment, like Township Films, thank you very much. It's like, there's so many components to it that just don't make it your experience.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but like you guys know Sarah, she's a planner, and so like that was like our pictures. It was like, like this is who we want the pictures with now. This is that. This, and then like we told the photographers like, you tell us what pictures we're taking, and just tell everyone where they stand and who's in the next picture, right? So we wanted things to be as structured as possible because then we just want to come back and like hang out with everyone. We didn't want 3 hours of pictures just because we have 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
We wanted pictures to be very direct, and in fact, like the really big group one we took. We have a snapshot of it. They haven't been released yet, but it looked really good.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Scary. Were you scary when you saw that was all black? So Justin chose all black.
Everyone was freaking out, but I live in Mexico, dude. It's not hot here.
But I was gonna say it was.
Yeah, fucking is.
It was like in mid-June, end of June. Like it's gonna be. It could be hot, and then black.
I was freezing.
Dude, I was sweating my balls off getting dressed.
But we just got out of the sauna.
That is true. That probably did not help, but I know honestly it worked out really well for like the overcast and then being sunny when we got back. Like it probably couldn't have been any better.
No, and
So if it was like this today, it would be a rough day.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved it, but like I said, I was so cold. Like I was tempted to go and just walk up and sit in the limousine while the
he asked a number of the bridesmaids for their shawls.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a,
yeah, because I was cold. Plus our jackets were in the limo.
Who did you walk down with?
I forget her name. I'm so bad. The blonde-ish girl.
Oh, she partied with us the one time. Yeah.
Games.
Yeah.
Not Chris's girlfriend, but the other one.
Not Chris's girlfriend. Chris had a girlfriend. Oh, Vienna. Yeah, it was.
Vienna, the other one.
Yeah, it was Crystal.
Yeah, I said nice to meet you. She said we've met. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
But then I remembered.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the jackets, everyone should have had them because we were going to take some pictures with it for the boys, but it's okay. But how'd you like catching me?
that was terrifying. I want to see the photos.
on the second time.
So I see.
I'll be honest.
The only one I've seen is so far as I think it's the second one. I have a shit-eating grin on my face. My eyes are closed though, and you guys have caught me clearly. So I don't know if they got you up in the air.
I want to see the video because so everyone understands what we did. Did you go forwards?
Yeah, I leaned forwards, and then you guys all threw me.
A row of guys, and Justin fell forward, and then we tossed him up in the air, and we got photos while he's in the air.
330 pounds. And you know what scared me on the second? So we did it 2 tries. The second time,
I was in the air.
he was. So when I did and I felt like all that weight come out of my hands, I was like, oh my God, we're airborne. Like, what are we gonna do? Can I catch him? Like, he's gonna come down with more force. Like, and then woof, everybody. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like it would have been a rocky landing.
Honestly, so when we threw Cole up at his wedding, he was tough to catch. And I'm like, you boys are gonna have your work cut out for you. And Cole's 180 pounds, so.
No, like, I was surprised of just that I don't feel anything.
Yeah, I mean, just see how those in particular pictures turn out. So.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if you can speak for this as well, but like having such a small wedding, because we did it, me and Acacia, officiate, photographer, and 1 person to sign each. And that was our wedding. 6 people, park in Granville Island, Nightingale for dinner, and that was a wrap, and we were exhausted. But like, we do want to have another party, like just the reception end of the wedding down in Mexico, and invite friends and family to come down. Yeah. So eventually that'll be a thing, probably like, I don't know, maybe next.
Is this our official invite?
Well, you guys will be invited. It's just a matter of when it is.
We'll post the dates on the podcast.
Open it.
Yeah.
Open invite party crash. Let's go.
We'll pin the destination.
Yeah. Just figure out how it all goes down. And
that's something we film.
So, yeah,
the next episode will be in a year.
What I was going to say, we had a separate. I'm not going to say it was guilted into us. We want to celebrate with the family, so we had a dinner for everybody in my parents' backyard, and that was really nice to see people. But it wasn't what our original plan was. We were just going to take off on our own, get it done, and then come back and be like, yeah, we're married. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. But
I told my parents 3 weeks later.
Yeah, and I really believe, like, it's great to see the family, like seeing your uncles, like your great uncle, and like that
was all her family. I only have my uncle now.
So like,
can you say uncle again?
Uncle.
Sorry.
Uncle.
But having the little kids, like that little 5-year-old, like playing around, I was like, oh, that's so cool seeing the different generations at weddings.
Okay, so but yeah, I do agree with you. It was cool to have like her family there, but we're going to a family reunion literally in a week. So I'm like, we just had it. And the other thing is like her family does get together quite a bit, and so like I see those people a lot.
Yeah.
And don't always have to, in my eyes.
Yeah, then it boils down to obligatory invites that are set from standards or other people's expectations, not actually what you want for your day. So you have.
No, and like the thing is too is like my family used to be really close to like her family. It wasn't until my grandmother died that it seemed to kind of like spread out a little bit. And that's kind of, it's honestly what I'm used to, is like seeing all the uncles and aunts, seeing all the cousins so frequently. Yeah, but I am very accustomed now to not seeing as much family, and I would like that to continue.
During COVID, we were stuck with a maximum of 50 people in the gathering, right? And it's pretty obvious when that many cars kind of show up at a house. And
Bro, I was so proud of the parking. I thought we would have a hell of a. I thought people would be parked up the road. I thought people would like have to be walking. Everyone more or less parked on the property. I was very impressed.
it was easy to leave. It wasn't.
I don't know, was it?
Someone was like officially in charge. Someone was even wearing a Visi vest.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Harvey at the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was, I think,
Props, Harvey.
Yeah, Harvey did good. Yeah, someone was wearing a Visi vest, letting people into park.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I went off without a hitch, even though there was apparently issues. Like I said, Katrina took care of it, and we didn't know there was issues.
I wonder if anyone's ever invited someone to their wedding while they're married, but not give them a +1.
We give people no +1s.
Someone that's married?
I've done it in this. We did it, yeah.
So you like say a friend that's married and you don't like their spouse, so you only invite them.
Yep. We did it this wedding.
That's a statement.
And they even came back and like, we're like, are you sure? Like, I'm like, yeah, they're not coming.
Yeah? So that was a real thing.
I almost didn't even give Chris Bampton his +1, and he was my like half man of honor. And but then I'm like, I've met her once. You're their counselor wife, so I'll bring her in.
Yeah, I had my questions.
That the wedding in particular, we were like talking stuff at the end, and she just like shook her head, and he's just like, and now I understand why he says the things he says. I'm like, yep, this is
Constantly.
because of us. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So
Are you the enabler friend?
I won't say no. Okay.
Yes. No, you're not an enabler. You're encourager.
If the shenanigans have started, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then you even change your music to like suit the setting that like to instigate.
I did the start, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that none of that stuff was planned. It literally was just like all the music I had, I would try to load it on the mixer, and if it loaded because the file hadn't been cropped on my old laptop, then I would try to play it and I would try to mix it together. It worked out pretty. I had a lot of compliments actually on. Actually, the number one compliment was Harvey's friend, who was like, "This is awesome," and like was wasted. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I used to do clubs and a night like old like underground raves and shit." And
Do you take it as a compliment, or do you take it as or was he so drunk that he doesn't know what he's talking about? Therefore,
no, so we the videographer guys recorded it, and I've re-listened to probably 2.5 hours of it through gym workouts. There's only a handful of mistakes. It wasn't like, it's not my best stuff by any means, but it was pretty good for like.
You've been focusing on your.
For what it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been out of the scene for a little bit.
Yeah, like I can't scratch for the life of me anymore. I used to be able to run 4 decks at once. That was only 2 decks, so like, it wasn't. It was okay. It was good enough for what it needed to be.
I don't even know what that means.
So don't worry.
Beep boop beep boop beep boop beep.
music.
Yeah.
It's not quite bee boo. It's not like R2D2 here, but that's fine.
It worked out really well though. Like the weather was amazing. Great weather.
Yeah, for the rain we had afterwards and the rain we had before, it worked out perfectly.
Not warm enough for Clayton.
It's too hot. I'm sweating my balls off right now.
The Mexican.
The wacky wavy inflatable tube guy. I'm serious. While you were bald, I only saw one without hair.
About it. So your baldness, was this like coincide with some negative days in your life or what? Was this legitimately a Britney breakdown?
Like, was it a full Britney? It may have been a little bit of a Britney, but at the end of the day, there was correlation with the humidity down there. And then after I shaved my head, I noticed a lot of other white men that are bald down there, like the concentration of bald white men.
Yeah, but you're not bald. You have a receding hairline, but you're not bald.
But whether they're bald or not, the amount of people with clean shaven heads is rather high down there. And I think it is because the humidity is just my hair just goes
easier.
all over the place and is a pain in the ass. It's just like, I was frustrated one day, walked out with the clippers and off she went, and then I started picking it clean. But so it may have been a little bit of a lost figuring my way, identity crisis maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a full Britney. It was definitely a little bit of a Britney. But
So what were you
He kept the beard.
on like
though.
40, 60?
40, 60?
Yeah.
40 Britney, 60,
Yeah.
60 logistics?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Cause I don't think it was less than that personally. I like from an outsider watching in, I do think you were like struggling at the time, and that's fine. I get it. It's all good.
That was fairly early on. That was only 2 months in.
Yeah. But we'd had some talks by that point where like things weren't going the way you had anticipated. So I was like, okay, this does make sense, and I get it.
Yeah.
We all go through some moments, right?
Yeah, I was shook by some things. One being the earthquake, two being the purchase of that vehicle. All happened in the first.
Okay, we're also gonna talk about that now. Why don't you just be a man and learn to fix it?
Huh?
Why don't you just learn to fix your car?
It's not so much about knowing how to fix it. It's the fact that someone like has Frankenstein two vehicles together to put into that thing. They remove the cats.
Yeah, but if you like had just an ounce of like mechanical inclinedness inside of you.
I do have mechanical aptitude. I don't have any tools. I'm in a new country with nothing but suitcases.
Just even accessing, like it adds an extra layer of cost.
Also being able to properly articulate the issue with a mechanic and hoping that they not only understand and know what they're doing, right? That's a problem as well.
Hey, you're the gringo that moved to Mexico.
I know.
Learn some Spanish.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I've probably been to
Don't give me your shitty excuses.
Oh man.
Here's the solution.
I've probably been to 12 to 14 mechanics. Some of them were good. They solved the problem at hand, but it had a lot of problems that I overlooked and ignored red flags.
Just
and
wanted your Jeep.
I just wanted a vehicle because I wanted things now because I'm a Westerner.
It can't be like my pickle over there that's just reliable and gets me to A to B, eh?
That's a farce.
It's just one engine that blew up. It's fine. It was covered in warranty. It's fixed. Now it's just beautiful.
Yeah, this thing, like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so bad.
Well, I think you should just roll your sleeves up. You're all about lessons. So nothing better than smashing some knuckles on some bolts and figuring out how to fix it.
Do you mean getting best insurance possible and lighting it on fire? Is that what you mean?
That can be part of it. That might be fraud.
Yeah.
It's fraud up here, but I don't know about Mexico. But
I don't know. I don't know the rules. That's another thing. Like, I just don't know rules. I don't know how things operate. Don't know what your rights are in certain situations.
yeah, that was like me. Like obviously completely different because I didn't live in Costa Rica. But like when our bags got stolen, I went around threatening the drug dealers. I'm like, I don't know what the assault rules are here. Let's find out. Because I was just mad.
Doesn't sound like a good plan.
So like we literally our stuff got stolen and I literally was like, where's the degenerate bar? Got pointed to it and walked in and threatened the two biggest drug dealers in the town that we were there.
Because your luggage went missing on an airplane?
No, because my luggage got stolen out of the back of our car. So I said, I have $1,000 if you tell me the piece of shit who stole my stuff. And I'm like, if you guys have anything involved with it, I'm gonna get you too. And they looked at me and were like, who the hell do you think you are? I'm like, your worst nightmare right now.
And what happened?
They pointed me in the direction that we're not the people and they didn't get $1,000. And then they became my best friends.
They probably just sent you like away, like go over there. So yeah,
No,
the guys over there.
they literally started making phone calls. I don't know what they were saying because I don't speak Spanish. But like jumped on their phone making calls, like go talk to this guy at the beach. He does apparently has some information.
Did you get your stuff back?
No, I didn't.
No,
No.
never did.
I was actually stolen in the wrong. Like I threatened the people in the wrong town.
Nice. That's good luck. So you got in your car. We're around one town.
So we were in Yako, which is like a surf town, and it's also where the club has a hotel in the back that you can rent for 15 minutes. It's known for like its prostitution and stuff. And so we were leaving that morning, and there's like a sign as you leave out of Yako that says Yako looks over the city. People take pictures. So we did the touristy thing, and there was a car that pulled in behind us and sped away. And so we were only there for 2 minutes. Sarah like can see like we took a picture. She took a picture in the car, took a picture with us and the sign, and then we like got back in the car.
So you're saying in the 2 minutes you were out of the car, someone took your bags and you didn't realize it until you got to the next town, and you blamed the people in that town?
But they opened up the trunk So the cops even said because all the cars there have like the shitty Wi-Fi cars and stuff. So like there's machines that can hack that to get into your vehicles. So they either did it, you didn't lock the doors, or those are like the two options. But they opened up the trunk just enough to pull out 2 backpacks and then left it. We had stuff like I had like a shirt because it's humid, you sweat your balls off because I'm fat. So like my shirt was like leaned over the back. They didn't take that. There's like bags in our back seat they didn't take. So they just opened the trunk just enough to grab the 2 backpacks.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the cop said, he's like, you're scarier than we are when we reported it. I was like, that's good to know. We're clearly not getting anything back.
Do you find where you're living now is a totally different political / even like drugs?
Yeah, tell me about this new president that you like was elected after 37 assassinations.
The vibe that you get, like, do you feel safe where you are, and do you feel comfortable walking
How many bodies
all
have you
night?
seen hung over overpasses?
Get right to the point, Justin.
I have not seen any bodies.
Really?
I feel incredibly safe.
Man, the first time I was ever in Mexico, we drove through underpass, I had 3 hanging bodies.
That's lucky.
Like the very first, I'm like, wow, this is where we're at.
No, it's where we are is a really safe place. It is the cartel that run things that where we are. They stick to their industries and they run those, and that's it. They kind of run it from the shadows. If you don't step on their toes, they're not stepping on your toes. They understand that white people are tourism, white people are money, and we make money off of it. So there's like rules of like, you do not mess with you don't mess with the gringos in there. I'm not technically a gringo because gringos are Americans, but like, so if there's crime going on that's driven by white people, they're kind of in a hard place because they can't do anything about it. It's
because they don't want the headline of X cartel killed X white man.
Yeah, because if that makes it to America or the States and social media, that the amount of money lost on this end in Mexico would be so much bigger than what it costs to do that. So they're getting a lot smarter, and which, I mean, I see it for myself that, you know, as a white guy walking around, like, I feel comfortable pretty much everywhere. I haven't felt uncomfortable yet, and I've been in multiple regions, driven around, been in central Mexico, been in Mexico City, which is like one of the biggest cities in the world, and, you know, been a couple hours in either direction of that, and I haven't had any problems.
But like even Costa Rica, there was never a point when we were walking around like apparently the worst neighborhood too, and I felt fine. I've never, like, I don't know, my travels, I've never felt like in danger by any means.
Yeah, and then from a political landscape, actually, funny enough, I just met my next door neighbor. He rents it out to some people from Canada in the wintertime, and then so he just moved back into his house. And he has a major in political science and was running a campaign for the opposing party, and so he knows about all this stuff. I think he's like our age, and I was doing the whole Wilson neighbor thing up on my concrete wall, talking to him in his backyard. And we're gonna get together when I get back, and he's gonna fill me in a little bit more stuff because he's also in law school right now for he wants to do criminal law.
Is he American? Is he like a Mexican?
Yeah, he's Mexican. Yeah, he's from Guadalajara, and so he's gonna fill me in on a lot of things, like how political structure happens, and, like, you know, he's mentioning that on a federal level, government and cartel are kind of one and the same, which is kind of a little bit scary, seeing who got into power, because you don't know what's going to be the trickle-down effect, and especially in an election where in 1 year 37 people died. Those are more so municipal ridings, but because that's where the power struggle is. It's not so much at the top; it's in the specific ridings. So that's where, you know, people that were running against certain people didn't want to be there, and they went bye-bye. So I'm gonna get a good lowdown from him, and I might even like turn it into an interview situation and record it just to have and maybe use on A Day with Clay. But it'll be interesting. I'm excited to actually hear what he's got to say, because I mean he was in it.
Insider's view too, right?
Yeah, like he was part of organizing the political campaigns. Like, he's right there in it, and he doesn't want to do it anymore because it's so dangerous.
That's wild.
Yeah, well, it's like obviously there's a little comparison, but like watching like the Narcos show, right, when Pablo took over back in like the 80s or whatever it was, like it's an interesting thing that isn't thought of, especially for us in the Western world, to like try to control something like that by just sheer force and just Like, it doesn't matter what's happening.
Yeah, why don't they be smarter and try to put in programming to slowly brainwash them and just take away the rights?
Yeah, that's what we
Sounds like a story I've heard or reading maybe at the moment.
You can read?
Where do you think he gets all his facts?
I usually hear it.
Yeah, Google speaks to you.
Yeah, true enough.
Text to voice.
But yeah, I mean,
Hey, can you do that down there? We have good technology now where you just have it your...
there are headphones that you can plug in and it'll repeat what they're saying in the chosen language, and then you can communicate that way. But it's not really an effective way of going about it.
I've had it where people would, I've asked them like, what language do they speak? And you go into Google Translate and you get them to voice it and then get Google to translate it to English. And it's like, oh, okay.
That's what we did in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Swats, yeah.
It's quite cool.
Picked up girls in Dominican like that because they didn't speak English.
Yeah, it's such an advantage to be able to speak the language though. Like, I really do want to speak.
It's actually one of my regrets. I wish I took other languages more seriously in high school and middle school.
Yeah, like a girl that is at my Muay Thai gym that I train at, she's half Mexican, half French. So she speaks both of those fluently. She speaks fluent English, and her husband's Chinese, and she speaks fluent Chinese. Like, that's insane. That's 4 languages and like very different ones as well.
Yeah, Spanish and French are both of the Romance languages, and they're very similar.
They're very similar. Anyone who speaks French has a really easy time picking up Spanish.
If you look at, like, in our household, Cyrillic and Russian, speaking Russian is like totally a different language.
Yeah, it's not the same structure.
Not the structure.
Yeah, it's not a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, English is a Germanic language.
Latin.
Yeah, Latin based.
For this
Comes from
conversation.
Latin, so
Yeah.
both French and Spanish come from Latin. I didn't know that English was Germanic. But
Yeah, it's a lot of tribes that got together and ended up.
Let's talk about the tribe that just got porn for the first time.
what?
You haven't read this yet? Some tribe in Brazil got Starlink, and they want it taken away because all the kids are watching too much porn now.
Is that what it was? I heard they were just like caught into the.
Well, they got caught into like the normal stuff, but then they found porn, and it was all downhill from there.
Sad.
You're an idiot.
What do you mean? I laughed so hard when I read that article. I was like, men are no different all around the world.
Oh, didn't they, like, growing up, I remember people saying, like, the internet, it's great sharing information. And then it's like, and porn. It's like, okay. And as, like, technology improved, so did the.
My best returning
multimedia.
stock was Pornhub after he told me about it.
The stock?
Yeah.
Well, it's a not publicly traded company.
It's not. Then how did you buy stock in it if it's not publicly traded?
We'll see. We'll see.
And you get, what did you buy into then? Yeah, you buy into the parent company.
You buy into
Sorry,
the parent company privately.
Yeah.
Privately?
Yeah.
You can do stuff. Investment, capital investment.
Who do you think you are?
Just a
Jesse MacIver.
general investor.
Century 21 Realtor.
Yeah.
General investor. I like that.
Clay, thank you for joining us.
Again for episode 3 with the return of Clay Divert.
Thank you for having me again. It was great. Loved it.
If you guys ended up seeing this entire episode, throw down in the comments that you watched till the end.
That's a good call to action.
Not like it or subscribe?
No, comments good enough.
It's the Conscious Business Podcast.